morning. Karen and Dr. Bruce Greenstein, memory of Karen's beloved grandmother, Rose Markfield, Razel Bas Yosef, and in memory of Bruce's father, Irving Greenstein, Yitzchak Isaac Ben Chana Penham. Oh, that's a nice Yiddish name. I like that. Okay. And in commemoration of their yard side, and Bella and Barry Weintraub was Bella. There she is. In memory of Barry's beloved father, Ben Weintraub, Yosef Ben Yitzchak, on his 19th yard side. Okay, so, all right, I want to welcome some of the Chevra back from Eretz Yisrael, or back from wherever. It's a great crew. Big yashikoach to Juan. Big yashikoach to everyone. Yeah. The whole crew sets things up and makes it happen. We appreciate it. And I want to welcome my dad. Dad, oh, you're fressing over there. Okay, welcome. So I just have to make a disclaimer. Thankfully, I asked Ella which piece I should do this morning. I said, should it be Nesiv Shalom, HaChodesh, or should it be maybe the Kliyakar, which obviously we normally do the Kliyakar. Just do the Nesiv Shalom. And it was the right move. It was the right move because the Kliyakar talks about when your child is disrespectful to you, and so he talks about the question of the Ben Rasha and the Sheno De Lishol, which you find relation to Parshas HaChodesh, as to when he says Ma'avoda Azos Lachem, what's this about? It's actually, he gets the same answer. If you got to Levin Chavayim Olemor, Babur Zeus Hashem Leave Mitzrayim, right? For the Rasha we say, leave a low. Oh, he did it for me, didn't do it for you, you'd be out. But for the Sheno De Lishol, they actually say it's the same answer. You got to Levincha, just speak nicely. Why? Because he says, you don't know. When the Sheno De Lishol is being quiet, is he being quiet just because he actually doesn't know? Or is he being insolent? Or is he being like disrespectful and say like, I'm out of here, what is this? This is, a bunch of baloney. So not that I ever displayed any disrespect to you when we were growing up in our house. Not that I ever got punished for it. But Baruch Hashem. So we're in a different space. We're in a nice space. Okay. HaChodesh HaZeh Lochem. We're going to skip right to the second column. We're right here on the second column where all the underlined lines are. In the first paragraph, the Nesiv Shalom says something beautiful. And he just says, look, you need to understand that there's a reason for all of the Arba Parshios that we read. There's a reason, right? It's not just about a memorial for something that happened way back when. It actually is a mitzvah nitzchit. It's something that's eternal, right? It's something that's happening all the time. We can relate, obviously, to the mitzvah of Mechias Amalek, of Zachor, right? We're literally, staring down a living, breathing Amalek on multiple fronts, as we know in Eretz Yisrael. And Baruch Hashem, we should just continue to be successful and bring all of the hostages back and have a complete Shalom al Yisrael. Amen. So we see that. We see the idea of shkalim. I used it in a pitch for our capital campaign. It's true, right? Hashem asked us back then in the time of Mishkan, and guess what? Young Israel Scars is asking you now, in this time, right? We need some shkalim. We need some shkalim to expand the Mishkan. Baruch Hashem, the Jewish people need it. And in the same vein, HaChodesh HaZeh Lochem. So HaChodesh HaZeh Lochem, okay, yeah, that's nice. It's Parshas HaChodesh, and it's the beginning of Yetzias Mitzrayim, and kind of the whole narrative, the whole story. It's this week's Parsha after Pekudei, but it also applies for all time. Now, to what extent? What does that mean? So let's look. Od yeshlom la'amod ala dikdukim beparsha. Ma'adakasa b'tchilas haparsha, v'yomer Hashem v'gomer be'eretz Mitzrayim. Number one, it says that Hashem said to Moshe, right, in Eretz Mitzrayim, in Egypt. So he asked, L'shem ma ne'amar shaya dibur be'eretz Mitzrayim. Why are you telling me that the dibur was in Eretz Mitzrayim? It generally just says, Vayidaber Hashem el Moshe, right? Or Vayomer Hashem el Moshe el Aaron. Why does it say in Egypt? Ha'ein derech haTorah l'chtov b'chol parsha be'ezeh makom nemra. Generally, the Torah doesn't do that. The Torah doesn't tell you where you are. Now, by the way, sometimes it does. Right? Eila hadvarim, right? Vayidaber Hashem, el Moshe in Dvarim, right? Mo, Suf, right? Ba'arava, right? There are all these different, or Vayikra, Bahar Sinai. It does use that. So I'm actually going to take a little bit of issue, Mechilas Kvod, the Nesiv Shalom, take a little issue with that question, but I'll ask it maybe in a different, in a different way. Of course we know they're in Eretz Mitzrayim. They've been there for 210 years. Where else would Hashem be speaking to Moshe, right? When we know it was in the middle of the Pesach story. So you don't need to tell us this. It's totally superfluous. Otzarech ber kefil alashon. You see the number 2. HaChodesh HaZeh lachem rosh chodashim. It says this month is the first of all months. Rishonu lachem l'chadshei hashana. Think about that pasuk for a second. This month is the first of all months. This is the first of all months in the year for you. What's the problem? You said the same thing, over. It's like when Jordana says, like, she'll say to me, like, Jonathan, you said that already. Move on, right? You don't need to repeat it. I'm just saying it and doing. You're saying it in different words. It doesn't make any sense. Like, okay, made the point. It's the first of all months. Why are you repeating it? It's the same thing. Gam lama kefel beis pa'amim lachem. HaChodesh HaZeh lachem v'rishon hu lachem. Why repeat also that it says lachem? Right? We know, again, it's for you. That's very nice. Why is it repeated twice? Called kefel lashon. Ubereish parshas Bereishis kasav Rashi she'HaChodesh HaZeh lachem rosh chodashim hi mitzvah rishonah shenitztav b'Yisrael. What do we know about the mitzvah of Kiddush HaChodesh? Rashi says the first mitzvah that the Jewish people are commanded as a whole. By the way, it's not the first mitzvah in the Torah. What's the first mitzvah in the Torah? Puravu. Second mitzvah? There's 3 mitzvahs in Sefer Bereishis. Bris Milah. Puravu, Bris Milah, and? What? Not eating the Gid HaNashim. Okay? Those are the 3. But they weren't commanded to the Jewish people as a whole, right? If you think about it, one was to humanity, one was to Abraham, right, and his cohort, his family, and the other was only, to Yaakov, sort of on his own. This is the first mitzvah given to the Jewish people in their entirety, according to many opinions. Rashi, when he brings it down in the first Rashi in all of the Torah, who's he quoting? He says, Amar Rabbi Yitzchak. Some say it might be his father. Maybe it was his father, Rav Shlomo Yitzchak, Rav Shlomo ben Yitzchak. Some people bring it down. Maybe yes, maybe no. Because Rabbi Yitzchak is not a prevalent name that you find in midrashic sources. Either way, right? It's the first. It should have been the first mitzvah. Uba ra'ui hayala atchila Torah. And so this is where, right? So the parsha we're going to read tomorrow is really where the Torah could have and should have begun. It's a big deal. Right? You can't gloss that over. Shedavka mitzvahs kiddush hachodesh nibcheres mikol tarig mitzvahs liyos mitzvah rishonah shedavka Yisrael mitzvah peirin yano. Right? If this mitzvah in particular of kiddush hachodesh, of sanctifying the new moon, of setting the Jewish calendar, is the first mitzvah, or should be really literally where the Torah should begin. That's a big deal that we need to explore. All right. So let's see what the Nesiv Shalom says. Look where it says A on top of Shin Kaf Gimel. V'yesh lomar. Al pimamar tzadikim. It's funny when you say. I was teaching this to some of my students, and I said, notice he says al pimamar tzadikim. He says, based on what a lot of the tzaddikim say. What's it based? It's like kind of like a cop out of not having to give a footnote, a source, right? Say like, I don't know. One of the tzaddikim says it. Rabbi Yitzchak, Reb Nehemiah Riminov, maybe it's the Kutzker, maybe it's someone else. Whatever. A lot of people say it. It's tzaddikim. But by the way, what do we normally say when we refer to the sages? What do we call them? Chazal. What does it mean? Oh, Chazal say the Chachamim Zichron L'Bracha. It's the same thing. It's just saying it in a different way. For Hasidic Rebbes. Al pasuk HaChodesh HaZeh lachem rosh chodashim rishon lachem l'chadshei hashana. He says b'meshech hashana yesh harbe zmanei hitchadshut b'hem kol yachol Yehudi lichadesh kibriya chadasha. Throughout the year, there are many times that we have the ability to renew ourselves. There are times of renewal. Throughout the Jewish calendar, right? It's not just the Jewish calendar; it's Jewish week. Kol HaShabbatot ve'Amoadim shenoadu lokach sheYehudi yashuv b'hem l'shorasho. Right? What's a holiday about? What's a weekend about in Judaism is not just about relaxation, right? In American culture, in our society, I have this holiday, I'm going to hang out, I'm going to have a barbecue. I have this holiday, I'm going to hang out, I'm going to watch some football. I have this holiday, I'm going to do just hang out and sleep in today, right? In Judaism, everything is meaningful, right? And he says every Shabbos you have the opportunity, the ability to renew, right? The idea of reflection, of sitting around the table, shutting off all the devices and trying to figure things out in a different kind of way, thinking about what's important in life. Obviously, the Moadim, the Yom Tovim, the holidays that we have, both the biblical ones, right, and the rabbinic ones, right? We threw in Hanukkah. We didn't have enough. We threw in Hanukkah. We threw in Purim, and there are other things. Obviously, the Chagei Yisrael that are coming up. All of those are opportunities to renew. Okay? Achein, HaChodesh HaZeh lachem Rosh Chodeshim. But this one, this opportunity, this holiday, right, this season is the one. Ha'itchadshut shel HaChodesh HaZeh hi Rosh lechol ha'itchadshuyot. It's a cute word, right? It's the top, it's the most important, the most essential of all of the opportunities for renewal. Ha-hitchadshuyot, meaning we have all these opportunities, right? Don't take Shabbos for granted. Shabbos is important. It's like super important. We have it every time. Rosh Chodesh is coming up. Again, it's all about renewal, okay? But this type of renewal that comes about in the month of Nisan, in the holiday of Pesach, it's tops, right? It's like the mother, the father of all opportunities for this kind of rejuvenation. Rishonahu lachem l'chadshei hashana, chodesh Nisan mesugal biyoter li'itchadshut yoter mikol zmanei hitchadshut shebashana, as we just said. Bo Yehudi mesugal li'itchadesh afilu binyanim hakashim biyoter shebachol hashana eino matzliach behem. This is the time where the Jew can really try again, right? A person's not matzliach in parnasa. You're not having hatzlacha with your own medical things, whatever it may be. You're not having hatzlacha with family things. This is the time. It's really fascinating. It's fascinating as a rabbi, I could tell you. I know that Sharon likes to say I have the most interesting job, right? But it's true. Around the holidays, specifically around this time, right before Pesach, and around before Rosh Hashanah, the people they kind of come out of the woodwork, right? Because there's something, the neshama is like churning, right? And all of a sudden you find someone in your office and they're telling you this is happening or that's happening, and they're crying. And it's not necessarily tsaros. Sometimes it's just a spiritual feeling, like I haven't been connected. I want to be more connected, right? It's an amazing thing. It just, you can't really explain it. It's there, right? They're there. They're markers in the calendar, but there's something that's opening up within people, and we have the opportunity to renew ourselves, to try again, right? To remake ourselves. Inyan ha'itchadshut hu koach miyuchad shenitan liYisrael, and this concept of renewal is like a superpower that was given to the Jewish people. Shebachol matzabim yachol Yehudi lichadesh kibriya chadasha, that in every situation you can remake yourself. Right? We see it in Parnasa, by the way. Someone, it didn't work out. They were in business, and then that didn't work out, and then they went to real estate. Or they were in real estate, and then they went into insurance. So they were in, right? There are people that you see it happen all the time, right? And they were in really dire straits 5 years ago, 10 years ago, and someone gave them advice and said, maybe you should turn it this way. In the medical field, how we know how it's changed so much, right? And sort of, okay, I'm going to do here, and now I'm going to work here, now I'm going to bring this in. It's a part of life, but if we think we're stuck, we can never do it, right? We'll never grow, right? We can never get out of it. And he says this is like what the rabbi said, that this month is for you, and not for the nations of the world. This is a weird statement. Why? Because the non-Jews, they go by a solar calendar. The Jews, we go by a lunar calendar. What? What does that have to do with anything? Well, right? What does that have to do with the price of tea in China? What's that? Shilichor tzarich be'er. Lama be'emes asa Hashem kacha shekol ha'olam onin l'seder ma'alech hachama v'liyisrael mon levani. He says, we should actually explore that. What's pshat here? Why is it that we have that different calendar? Right? And even our calendar, the lunar calendar that the Muslims use, right, it's a different calendar than we have, right? They don't have a leap year. That's why Ramadan's it's always at convenient times when they want us to stop fighting, and they can do the terrorism. They could fight on our holidays, but we're not allowed to fight on their holidays. Whatever. It's like always Ramadan. Whatever. Anyways. Ella, shemerumaz bezeh So we're right in the middle of the of this column of the underlined lines. He says, what's unique about the sun? The sun, it doesn't change. The sun just stands there, right? It's sitting there in the middle of the universe, right? It doesn't move. Tamid hi b'matzav kavua ve'ina mishtaneh le'olam. It is always in that like a static, stationary position and sort of state. It never changes. Now, what you know, that's from like kind of from afar. What someone like me who couldn't handle I'm not a science guy, right? So when I was in YU, I couldn't, even physics for poets, it didn't work for me. I took astronomy. It was the first thing they offered astronomy, and it was fascinating. And what we learned about the sun was that like every millisecond, there's a global thermonuclear explosion that happens every millisecond in the sun that powers the sun. It's pretty cool. But we don't see that, right? We don't notice that, okay? See, I learned something in astronomy. All right, but ach halavana mitzuyat tamid b'matzav shel shinui v'hitchadshut. However, what do we see about the moon? How does the moon work? We look at the moon, and the moon is constantly in flux. The moon is constantly changing. It's like our kids, sang the song, "The moon gets skinny and flat," right? And it starts to go away a little every day, and that is the end of that, right? It waxes and wanes. The moon is different. What does that have to do with the Jewish people? He says, "Yesh ba hitchadshuyot ktanot b'chol yom u'b'chol sha'ah." Every instant, the moon is in a different state of flux, right? That's why when Barry's going to announce in Mirz Hashem tomorrow about the Milad, right? It's important. So, it's here, right there, at that moment, the chalakim and the seconds and the minutes. At every moment, it's different. Sheb'chol eisi b'matzav shoneh u'miyuchad. Every moment, it's in a different state. The af yom is no resting state for the moon. One day isn't like the other. Sheba zman shalabana b'chodesh, sheba zman shalabana mitma'etet at shemagil efes agamor b'chinas b'yamesh choshech. And we know that even sometimes the moon, at what time, right? On Rosh Chodesh time, the moon gets tiny, as if you can't even see it. Only a sliver is visible, and it seems like it's just it's enveloped in darkness. But then afterwards, what happens? The light comes, right? And it begins to shine and radiate. That's why the Jews keep a lunar calendar. That's why we count according to the moon. The Jewish people and the state of the Jewish people are always in flux. Always. Think about it. Always. We never have like a resting, that's good now. Oh, conceptia, right? Okay, how long did that conceptia last, for the Jewish people from 1967 until 1973? And how long did our conceptia last, here with Hamas, for a few years? Oh, great, start of nation, blah, 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 blah. Okay, great, boom, look what happened. Worst day since the Holocaust, right? It's the way we are. And you look at the society, and look at the upheaval, and the demonstrations, the back and the forth, and the yelling and the screaming. It's who we are. It's our resting state is in flux. That's the Jewish people. Every moment is its own unique moment. But we can always get out of it. We could always renew ourselves. We can always rejuvenate. This is the key. It's beautiful. Even at the moments of the worst darkness, the height of darkness, right, where you feel literally the darkness is tangible, the evil is in the air. It's bedavka at that moment that we have that power, that superpower of counting according to the moon. Sheyodea, the double underlined line, Sheyodea ki amnam ka'ed choshech, abal techef yofia shuv ha'or. We know that there's darkness, but you know what we also know? We know there's going to be light. We know that we're not going to get snuffed out. It's like I explained to people when Jordan and I went 10 days after October 7th. We were nuts, but when we wanted to visit her. And we wanted to also show that, like, the planes go both ways, right? Everyone was leaving Eretz Yisrael, right? In the moment of our greatest need, everyone was leaving, especially the Americans, right? We're out. It's hard. It's a lot of anxiety, a lot going on. I didn't want to get up and say, oh, you have to go, you have to stay. We're just going to go. And we went. And I remember walking around there, and it was a hard time. It was a dark time. You didn't see any adults in the street, any adult males in the street. They were all called up, right? 300,000, whatever. But I remember describing what it was like. You walked around, and it felt like it was Tisha B'Av after Chatzos. Tisha B'Av after Chatzos. After Chatzos on Tisha B'Av, what do? We could sit on a regular chair. We start feeling the light is coming. Because you could see it. You could see it in that Achdos. You could see it in the way that people were just rallying around each other. It was incredible. It was something I'll never forget. That's what it is. It's the Jewish people understanding that, we hear this a lot in the news, our national resilience was tested, and it will be tested, it'll continue to be tested, but it's there. It's who we are. We are a resilient people. We always have been. And look at this. He says, but the nations of the world, they use the solar calendar. They don't have that kind of internal national resilience. When the darkness falls, they're just, we're done. All right, it's over. It's over, right? And that we see that, right, in the nations of the world that have come before us, right? Like Mark Twain talks about, like all the different historians, right? The Persians, the Babylonians, the Medians, right? The Romans, they're all gone. They're all gone. But we're still here. The immortal Jew, still retains his character. We're still here. They think about, Hitler, right? The walls are closing in on him. What does he do? Shoots himself. That's it. Done. Nazis. Okay, it took a few years, right, to denazify, right, Germany, and they took over, whatever. It's done. They're gone. They're gone. It's not real. So all of us at Hamas, they're going to be gone. Yasser Arafat, we thought Yasser Arafat was the greatest arch enemy, and then he was. He's like literally. Our kids probably don't even know who Yasser Arafat is. Our grandkids, maybe, right? Think about it, right? And he was like the worst, right? Saddam Hussein, remember that? Gone. These people, they all of a sudden they see the walls closing in and they go away. The Jewish people see the walls closing in. You know what we do? We push them right back. It's just who we are. It's what we're about. He says it's like it's a beautiful imagery of when you plant a seed in the ground. He says that you take the seed, you put it in the ground, and then the seed begins to decompose. And then it really decomposes till kind of the very end of it, and there's still a little bit left. And then there's a kusta de chiyusa, there's a little bit of vitality, of life force in it, and it's from that the sprout comes and grows. Azhu rega hatzmicha. And that is the time of real growth. They call it actually PTG. It's a big thing that's happening in Israel right now. Post-traumatic growth, right? There's PTSD. They have that too, unfortunately. But there's also post-traumatic growth, right? Which happens during difficult moments. Obviously, if it decomposes all the way down, you're done. Forget it, right? You can't grow. That's the difference between us and the nations of the world. The Jew still has that, that internal something, that promise from God, and it's there, whether it's national or whether it's even personal. If you're in a dark time, you're dealing with difficult things, whether it's spiritually, materially, it's all there, and we could grow from it. We know we can, right? And we could remake ourselves. And that spark never goes away. And we remake ourselves. Again, the darkness falls and they're done. And he proves it amazingly from an amazing pasuk in the Megillah. He quotes Zeresh. Zeresh, when Haman went to Zeresh and all this Hebron, and he said, oh, this guy Mordecai is terrible, I hate him, whatever. Oh, no problem, kill him. They'll set up the tree, and they say he'll take care of it. What happens the next day? That night he goes to tell Achashverosh. Then he all of a sudden it's like, okay, take Mordecai, take the royal clothing, take the horse, and you're gonna take him through this, lead him through the city. He goes back home dejected. He tells Zeresh what happened. What does Zeresh said? Oh, if it's Mordecai that's the person you've begun to fall before him, you're done. It's over. Lo tuchalo. You're done. You just crumble. That's what happens to our enemies. That's what happens to the nations of the world that try to take us down. That's why we have, that's the power of that, of the moon. And he says that's the pshat of why it's the first mitzvah it's worthy, it's first mitzvah given to the Jewish people as a whole, and worthy that the Torah began just from this pasuk. Why? Because it teaches us the most important, ingredient of who we are. It's the idea of our national resilience. It's the idea that both on a national level and on a physical level, a spiritual level, we're never done. We're never down and out. You could be people who, like when people come to me and say things are going on, it's difficult, and especially the kids, maybe they're going in a different derech or whatever. I tell them, guys, I've seen a lot of things, right? It's a journey. It's not a sprint. It's a marathon, and kids come back, and they find their way back in all sorts of ways. And we never give up on those things. That's what the beauty of what it is to be a Jew. We should all be zocheh to tap in to the power of HaChodesh HaZeh Lachem Rosh Chodashim, and we should have a sense of renewal, of a national renewal, and a personal, communal, and familiar renewal for all of us as we sit in Mirz Hashem soon at our Seder tables, reminding ourselves that when the going gets tough for the Jewish people, we just keep it rolling, and we bring the light by definition of who and what we are. Have a wonderful, wonderful Shabbos. We can now cash from the HaKadosh Baruch Hu l'zakos es Yisrael l'ficha. Here blame term mitzvah shnei mar and chavik zman tzidko yak the term yad kadosh rabban. Yiskadal yiskadash. Amen. Baruch Hu say gam zeh machaseh v'chayikon v'yamayikon v'chayit Yisrael. V'avol zman karev v'ruah. Amen.